You are now plugged into the Social Plug Podcast.
What's up, everybody? I'm Jerry Sauceda right here on the Plugged In Podcast with Social Plug Podcast and Social Plug Media. Dude, super excited about today and our guest. You know, what we do here on the Social Plug Podcast, we bring ordinary people doing extraordinary things. We're also here in the Greenleaf Studios at Greenleaf Health and Wellness. Big shout out to them. And I also want to introduce JRock, Jay Rizzle, behind the scenes, our producer in the house today. What's up, JRock?
What's up, man? How's it going, brother?
Hey, feeling good, man. Excited about today.
Heck yeah.
And also, shout out to our sponsors, Dat DJ. Can check out these guys at datdj.com. So, hey, we're bringing the energy today. We're bringing a phenomenal story and a phenomenal guest. And I'm excited to be the one to help bring the story to life. So I want to introduce our guest today, and we'll call her Blythe.
Yep.
So welcome, Blythe Cox.
Hey,
and
what's up?
yeah, so excited to be on the show.
I am. Thank you for asking me. This is great.
Yeah, this
Love
is
it.
phenomenal. Hey, so, you know, I've just heard from so many people around us that they're like, man, Blythe has an amazing story. One, she's just an amazing, impactful person. And I feel like we've had the opportunity to cross some paths
Yeah.
here recently. And I'm just like, okay, there's something extraordinary about this person and what they're doing. And I'd love to have you on the show. So we're here today. So,
Thank you for having me.
yeah, before we jump into the story, though, you know, tell me, just give us kind of background about Blythe. Who is Blythe? You know,
Oh, wow.
you know,
A
family.
Personal brand there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, a little bit about me. I'm a 40-something-year-old woman, married to my high school sweetheart for 22 years. We just celebrated our anniversary in early December.
High school sweethearts. Wait, like, are
Yeah.
we like, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've been together. I was 17. He was 17, about to turn 18.
Uh-huh.
And so, yeah, we've been together that long. We dated for about 4.5 years before we got married. And, yeah, did
Yeah.
that. And then we have a 21-year-old who's in college. Hey, Kylie, what's up? And then she's at Texas State. And then
Yeah.
we have our youngest daughter, Kelly. She is a cheerleader at Canyon High School. So living the dream, man. That's what we're doing.
Super cool. So you're on the verge, and I feel I'm almost there. So y'all be empty nesters soon.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, yeah.
I started
Yeah.
thinking about it, and I'm like, yeah, that's coming up. Like, it's going to be a thing. What are we
Yep.
going to do with our lives? Well, you know what? We're going to have a hell of a lot of fun. It's going to be great.
You know what's so funny about that? So, right. So my daughter's 7.
No, I'm going to miss him. I really am.
Yeah.
I am.
My daughter's 17. She'll be graduating high school this year, and she's like, my only child, and she's like, Dad, so what are you gonna do after I graduate? I'm like, whatever I want to do.
What am I not
Like,
gonna
let's
do?
go. I know. And she's almost like, that's not fair. Like, I have to go to college, and you just get to do whatever you want to do.
Life
but,
phase.
It is bittersweet. I think that's just my
Yeah.
way of deflecting the real emotions of like
Oh, I'm going to
reality.
cry like a
right?
baby.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah.
time. I'm
And-
going to cry in their closet without them. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's going to be a thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've been in the financial industry for 20 some odd years. I work for a local financial institution. I've been doing that for a really long time. I'm in business development, and that's kind of my jam. That's what I do.
Yeah. So you do a lot of relationship building, connecting with the
Yes.
community.
Yes.
things
Yes,
like
yes,
that.
Yes.
Yep.
And it's my thing. Like, I love it. I think there's certain people for it, and I'm the people for it. So,
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, it couldn't be any better place than where we're at. And so you
Yeah.
were telling me a little bit about your background. So you actually grew up in a smaller town in
I
Southeast Texas. That's what you were mentioning, right?
Yeah, little bitty town. No, I grew up in a little town in East Texas, Southeast Texas, Lumberton, which is about 7 miles north of Beaumont in the very, very thick of the piney woods. Yeah, small town.
And now here you are. But you
Here I
said
am, yeah.
you were like, I've always felt like I was like the big city gal.
I did.
kind
I
of
felt
like-
like a city mouse, you know,
Yeah.
kind of in some way. But the country mouse can come out whenever she wants to. But really, you know, I had come out here as a kid with my dad. My dad bow hunted with some
Okay.
friends in
Yeah.
the Bernie area. And I can remember coming through this area, and there was like dead coyotes on the road out 46. You know, there was nothing. I mean, it was just bleak, you know.
Yeah.
And we, of course, went to Slurvon, and we did all the things. And Gruene was just a little country town, really. I mean, it had a dirt roads.
Yep.
And I couldn't wait to be here. I had always longed to be here. And my husband and I have actually a really great story. You know, when we first met, we vacationed out here with my family for the first time.
Okay.
And we'd been together for just a few months. And so vacationed out here.
No
and
pressure.
No pressure. And we always tell everybody that we fell in love in this town. It's true. We fell in love in this town, and we fell in love with the town, and we'd always wanted to be here. And so here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that is so good. So high school sweethearts. So you have two children, been in the financial service industry, huge community connector and impactor for sure. So tell us beyond those things, because I know you have an incredible story. And something, and I think, some of the best stories are not necessarily just that Disney fairy tale.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. This is no fairy tale.
I've been there and been through the crowd, and it's almost like, in a way, I mean, people are, in a way, sometimes they're attracted to seeing like the car accident, right? It's like they turn their head to see, like, man, what happened there?
Mm-hmm.
But then there's also like the triumph on the other side. What came of
right.
that. So tell us a little bit more about that. And this story, first of all, was recently captured in a book.
That's correct.
Right?
Yes.
So tell us about the book, first of all.
Okay. Well, yeah.
So you're an author.
I am. I'm an established author. Yeah. I'm a collaborative author, actually, of the book Shine Your Light that came out in October. We launched it in October. It's been a bestseller on Amazon, and we are thrilled about that. Never in a million years would have thought that. It's a bestseller in multiple categories, which was pretty awesome.
Bestseller Blythe.
Yeah,
Boom.
right.
There you go. Boom.
That's a good ring to that. Really excited to do that. It was really difficult to do that in the long term, actually. Thought about that for many years. But so chapter 3, Choose to Love, that's Blythe. Yeah.
So this Shine Your Light book just came out, bestseller. Give us kind of it's a collective, collaborative book. So there's multiple authors in there.
Yes.
You're sharing your personal stories, or
Correct.
a story about something you experienced and went through, right?
Yeah.
And so where one can find that online,
right?
All those good places, right?
Right. Yep.
Okay.
Amazon, Shine Your Light.
Yep.
Go get it.
So, do you mind if we dig a little bit deeper?
Yeah, go for it.
All right.
Go for it.
So I just want to say I have not read the story or the book. And I was kind of thinking, leading up to today's episode, I was like, maybe I should. I was like, but what better than to actually hear it from the author themselves, right?
All right, yeah.
And so can you tell us, like,
yes,
what are the roots of the story that was shared in the Shine Your Light book?
Well, there's a lot to it. It is definitely a tragedy to triumph story. I grew up in a little town, right? I had a very chaotic, violent childhood in a lot of ways, and ultimately lived a very interesting, colorful life as a child. My mother was a singer. She had a full-time job, but my mom was a singer. My dad was an iron worker. Paycheck to paycheck kind of a thing.
Sure.
Grandmother was there to help out a whole lot. I have 2 sisters. My parents divorced when I was 9 years old.
Okay.
But up until that point, it was extremely volatile relationship. I was listening to a podcast recently, and I think this word just came up, and it was, emotionally immature parents. And I think being raised by some emotionally immature parents in some aspect added to the overwhelm that I had to overcome.
Now,
And,
I'm curious, were they young parents themselves?
Actually, my mother was 27, I believe, when I was born. So not necessarily, but just a lot going on there.
Yeah.
My dad was, an adulterer. And my mother was a very hard worker, but had already had some very impactful, traumatic things happen in her younger life. And so it just added to the mix, as well as my father lived a very traumatic life in the 50s and 60s,
Sure.
right? You're talking parents who, just beat the hell out of you and get up and stop crying and get outside and play, so these are the people that I grew up with, right? And, you throw in drug, sex, alcohol, little bit of all that, and voila.
There you go.
There you go. But, ultimately, their divorce was extremely, hard on me in a lot of ways. And I had to deal with a lot of the effects of that.
Especially at that age. I mean,
Yeah.
such a
Yeah.
developmental time, like for I think anybody, and for a child. I mean, you're
Absolutely.
experiencing that. So can you remember specifically
Oh,
going
yeah.
back to moments and
Oh,
being
yeah.
like, man, like just
I
the
tell
impact it
people,
had?
that I actually have somewhat of a photographic memory from when I was a child. So if you almost ask me a specific day, I could probably tell you what we were doing and where we were and what was on the radio. So yes, absolutely, a very impactful time for a child in a child's life. I have
Yeah.
2 girls, so I totally understand.
Mhm.
And then, after that, I had some things happen in my own life. I was sexually abused at 13 years old. I wound up
Sorry
in the
to hear that.
hospital fighting for my life. Thank you. And then, at 15 years old, I had a miscarriage. I was just doing all the things that, a very emotionally distraught person would do, really. But I was still in this small town with these small views of the world and trying to make it and make sure everything looked like it was okay, right?
Yeah.
Just, brush everything kind of under the rug and keep going, because what do? You resilience, grit, get up and go. That's what you got to do. And so, then I met my husband and so forth, and some things changed in my life, just my viewpoints, my perspective. I got out of a situation. I moved out when I was 18 years old on my own. I did go to school for a little bit, but I didn't graduate college.
Okay.
And I tell
Neither did
people
I.
that.
I'm like, I
Yeah.
got 30 credit hours of community college.
Yeah, there you go, man. Yeah. More power to you. Look at all the stuff you're doing, right?
Yeah.
And I would have loved to have finished, but at the same time, I was living life. I was living life and trying to make it on my own, and I did. And like I said, I started in the financial industry, and I just made it a career. I didn't think it was going to be a career, but I made it a career, and I've been very blessed with that. But at the age of 26, my father at the time, I'll go back a little bit, but when I was 13 years old, my grandfather actually killed my grandmother. And it was an act of passion, we'll call it that. And it was very...
And this is happening in the same area where you're living?
Yes, yes,
okay.
absolutely.
Wow. So you're pretty close to this.
Made the news, did all the things in the paper, went to trial, lots of stuff. So that was 13 years old, right? And you're like, oh, okay, what happened here? So my dad really took that very hard. And he was the only child that was here at the time of his parents' family. They all lived in California, his other brothers and sisters. But, so that added to a lot of his emotional distress,
Absolutely.
we'll call that.
Yeah.
So, this has already happened once in my life. And at 26 years old, my father and my stepmother were married. I have 3 other brothers and sisters. He actually murdered my stepmother, my brother, my sister, and shot a cop in the midst of, not before he killed himself. And so, all due to some very deep-rooted emotional problems. He was not right. He was not right.
Yeah.
And somebody who can do something like that is obviously taken over by a spirit of,
If you mind me asking,
Sure.
leading up to that, what was your relationship like with your dad up to that point?
My dad, when I was growing up, was just this charismatic, very handsome. I mean, my dad was very handsome. Never met a stranger. He was a hard worker, but he was a jackass. Okay. He was on and off of work, whatever. It was good, but it was hard to have a conversation with him because everything that he told you had to be right. He was very particular about things. He was really messy. which drove me nuts, when I was growing up, very messy. So it was good, and we had this great connection.
Mm-hmm.
I am part of who he is, so there was that there. But then there were all these other things where you're like, you drive me nuts, and I don't like this about you, and I don't want to be that. So I learned a lot of things, what I didn't want to be, what I didn't want to do in my life, actually from my parents.
Yeah. Now I'm curious to ask this, like, because you mentioned, so your grandfather murdered your grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
Your dad, or your dad ends up murdering his
Wife.
wife,
Mm-hmm.
kids.
Yeah.
That was his dad?
Correct. And the weird thing is that somewhere down the road, I had another male figure in my lineage that actually killed his wife as well. So this was a chain that had to be broken.
Mm-hmm.
And God did that.
Yeah.
God did that.
What was it? And so what changed? What was the breakthrough?
I grew up with a really amazing grandmother on my mother's side. And my mother is a God-fearing woman. She's a good woman. She had great parents. And God was always there. I knew that he was always there watching over me, even though I was hiding behind a couch. As a child, I didn't know the word God. I didn't know who Jesus was, but I knew that something was protecting me and helping me and speaking to me, really, through my spirit. And so guiding me on the next steps on what I needed to do, because I did a lot of things when I was younger to help my mother and my family.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is where I drew from to fill me back up, because I was the most emptiest person you can imagine when that occurred.
Yeah.
I had already had a lot of things happen, decided that I was going to bury those things. That was in the past, right? I'm going to move on. Well, guess what? That is easier said than done.
Right.
Especially when your life blows up in front of your face, literally. I mean, like, it was a nightmare. And there were a lot of people involved. My stepmother's family was involved as well. And it was very traumatic. Very traumatic. I'm a grown up, and now I've got a child of my own, and I am not right. I'm not right.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely have to, draw from that, source is
So,
God.
Jerry, I said I'd stay out, but I got a question.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, so how long was this period of time from when your grandfather did what he did, and then to when your dad did this? Was
12 years.
It was
Yeah.
a 12-year
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah.
And-
Actually, it was longer than that. Let's see. I was 12, 15 years almost. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did they ever say like it was like a mental type thing, or is this did they have like a short tension, like like I mean not like a short fuse, like did they have a lot of anger?
So the issues that actually occurred, there was a series of issues that happened
Okay.
before my dad did that, before my grandfather did that, that led up to their act of rage.
Okay.
Truthfully, my dad thought that my stepmother was cheating on him, and she obviously he cheated on my mother with her, wound up marrying her, and to be quite frank, I mean, no offense to her family, but she wasn't very nice to us at all, because we were the other kids, the other woman's kids, and so there was always that, that there, but over time, I think their relationship, she actually probably realized he probably wasn't as amazing as she thought he was. He was older than her, almost 9 years older than her. And, she had to grow up a little bit, I think, too, and had 3 kids with this man. And all of a sudden, he's not really keeping a job. He's not really doing all the things. He's messy. He's all the stuff. And he cheated on her, too.
Gotcha.
I'm not sure if she knew that, but he did. And, there was a lot to that. And she was ready for a divorce, I think, and wound up separating him because of a violent act that he had done. and was like, okay, I'm out. This is over. I'm taking the kids. She took the kids, and there was a restraining order in the midst of all of that. And so she wound up coming home, and I think they had a conversation at some point right before all this happened. And then he came to the house, and that's what he did. So I can't say for certain all the exact details of that,
Yeah,
but what
yeah,
I can
no,
say
for
is that
sure.
it was definitely contained anger that came to a real bad place.
Gotcha.
And I do think that, to answer some of your question, is it a mental issue? Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that our experiences in life and how we grow up, our environment can add a lot to that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I've battled with my life as well. I'm very transparent with people. I'm like, I have anxiety, and it's okay.
Good
I
reason
take
for it.
medication
Yeah.
for it. I do. I don't hide that.
Yeah.
I think that being transparent about it and telling people, hey, this is life, y'all. I mean, we're doing this. This is a weird time, and we are living in some extremely uncertain times.
Yeah.
And
So
I'm so glad you say that too,
Yeah.
Blythe, because even before we had any interactions, you probably would have been one of those people that I viewed and been like, man, Blythe has her shit together.
Oh, everybody says that.
Right,
They
Blythe
do.
has her shit together, and it's a picturesque, and especially the world we live in or the things that we see. Right, it's like you always measure yourself up against like the perception
Sure.
of something else that you're seeing, whether it's social
Yeah.
media, or like our daughters go to school together, and you can look at other parents and families and be like, man, like I don't have it together.
What am I
like they
doing
do.
wrong
Right,
with my
right,
life? Yeah.
Right.
Or what,
But that's one of the things, and I
Yeah.
felt like one of the commonalities in being able to have like just phenomenal guests and stories here is just the real truth of like, hey, we're real people,
Yeah.
having gone through some real
Crap.
freaking things, like some real shit,
Yeah.
right?
So,
I mean,
yeah,
and to your
exactly.
extent, it's one thing to be like, man, it's a story, but this is like a movie. I
Yes,
mean,
yes.
you were, and I don't take away from any of the things that like you're sharing, because there's probably a very limited number of people that could sympathize in a way to say like, I've
I've been through
experienced
that.
trauma
Right,
to the
right,
extent that
right.
you have probably gone
I
through.
tell everybody, everyone experiences hurt and pain. None of it is it's all different, but it's still the same impact on us. So, for instance, this happened in my life. Well, someone whose, mother has cancer right now, who's dealing with that, that is the most impactful thing that they've ever done in their life. And it is hard, like that is hard for them right now. And they're dealing with that. So, no one's pain is greater than another. It's just different. It's just different.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, God gave me the strength to do what I had to do. I believe that He equipped me and prepared me to go through those moments, not with grace, honest to God, not with grace. I mean, I was a basket case. And my husband and I almost got a divorce. I had a child who I was neglecting. She was 4 years old. My oldest daughter was 4 years old. I went through a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't deny that. And, I mean, that it's been a lot. So there was a lot of moments spent on my knees in prayer because I needed it. I needed to go there,
So see all these things up to that point that you've gone through. I mean, I'm just thinking about whether what you're exposed to as a child and seeing
Sure.
the relationship between your parents, divorce at 9, miscarriage at 15. You're dealing with these really over the top, just
Right.
crazy situations, right? Person of faith, and I can tell you, like, it's just extraordinary the way that I can see. I'm like, man, that something in some shape or form or fashion was always there, and whether at that point in time I couldn't be like, man, recognize it for what it was, and then it comes to fruition later on to show
Absolutely.
itself. Like, and I feel like God has just been extremely faithful
Oh,
in my life.
He's never let me down.
in supporting, and I see like how important the relationships are around an individual and being able to help break through, overcome, or go through those things. So when you talked about like your husband being, were high school sweethearts, you're enduring all these things together, whether you got the answers or not. Like, what were some other really important relationships you've had throughout your life that you saw like made a difference?
You know, my mother, really, my sisters, my husband's parents.
Mm-hmm.
Those were some of the relationships that I relied on. But to be quite honest, the only thing that made me better was my relationship with God. Nothing could withstand. No one gave me what God could give me.
Mm-hmm.
No one could help me. No one made it better. No one made it go away.
Yeah.
And so that was really, I began to have a very deep faith because I had to.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's all I had. And everything else around me was crumbling. And so that's the only truth that I knew. And so, yes, I've had lots of wonderful relationships, people who have added value to me and
Mm-hmm.
uplifted me and encouraged me and been there for me or listened to me, friends and family and community who
Mm-hmm.
have all done that. But ultimately, none of them have filled me like God has filled me.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Truthfully.
Amen.
Amen.
For sure. Yeah. So as and I don't even want to lose sight of this, but we're sharing and talking about the story, and this is
Sure.
all within the Shine Your Light book, right?
Exactly.
And what was it? Because you said you had been approached, or, hey, Blythe, share this story.
Yeah.
And you've had moments, or at first you were like, no, I'm not
No.
there. I'm not
I said
ready.
no.
I'm not going to. Right.
No.
So what
Well-
was different now, and what was that journey like for you to confront that and say, hey, you know what?
So that's a good question because I've actually been approached multiple times to tell this story, in some form or fashion,
Mhm.
whether it was in public or in a book or whatever. And so, dear friend of mine, April, had asked me a few years ago, actually, hey, Blythe, I've heard your story. Like, you should write this down. And I'm like, no, because there's so many people involved.
Mm.
And this isn't just, yes, it is my story. It is my perception. It is my story, but it is not just my story. This was a life event for all of our family and our community. This was something that was very public. And this was in 2006. And so this small town had never seen anything like that. Maybe a fluke of something, but nothing to that magnitude, especially some white collar guy, right? And I don't want to stereotype it, but truthfully, but yeah, I'd been approached a few times and I said no because of that. But this time, I'd really prayed about it a lot and I knew that I had to tell the story. So when the title of the book, Shine Your Light, was announced,
Mm-hmm.
I knew that I had to share that. And there's a reason that I had to share it in this book, and I'll get to that in a minute. But, and then the backstory behind that, the people who were involved in it, the process behind it,
Mm-hmm.
as well as we didn't keep the proceeds of this money. All of this money goes back to the Kiva program. And I'm in banking, right? I'm in the financial industry,
Mm-hmm.
and I've helped people in that realm be able to give loans to people who really need it. And it just, the connection was there and it was undeniable, and I had to do it because of that. So, the second side of this story is that after all of this had happened, after 2006, I had another child in 2008, so it's probably somewhere in 2008. And I tell this in the book as well, that I was living with massive amounts of fear about who I am, fear about, am I ever going to do something like that? Fear about the future, fear about success, fear of failure.
Wait,
am
so
I
let
going
me
to be
ask
able to go on, right?
That was a real legitimate thought. Like,
Yeah.
am I capable?
Am I
of
capable?
doing something like that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Blood's pretty thick. And, You know, I say something in the book and that my grandmother actually said, and you can't beat out of the bone what's born in the blood, and some of it's true. It really is. And so we all have tendencies to be like our parents sometimes. And that thought obviously crossed my mind. You know, that thought was from Satan, but it definitely was something that crossed my mind.
Right.
And I was just, you know, basically shred to pieces. I was shattered inside about a lot of things. I had to deal with the estate. I had to do all kinds of stuff. Media, back to work, all the stuff you do, bills, dogs, kids, whatever. And so in the midst of all of that, I have this new baby, and you know, she's crying one morning, and I go get her, and I put her in the bed with me, and I was nursing her at the time, and I lay back down, and I instantly went to heaven. I instantly went to heaven. There's no in between.
Wow.
There's no in between, and I can't tell people how amazing it is. I just can't tell people how amazing it is. It's so hard to tell people how. And the word amazing doesn't even do it justice. And I try to explain it to people as in, remember the moment that you accepted Christ as your Lord and Savior. And take that moment and times it by trillions. And that's how it feels to be there. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
It's nothing like you've ever seen, and God is love, and the light is love. And so that I knew that when it occurred, that it was big, and that I had been given a gift, truthfully. And there was no denying it. Absolutely not. There's no denying. This wasn't some dream of mine. This is a real place, and I really went there, and God allowed me to go. He allowed me to come back, so I'd tell it. Yeah. And so I knew that the name of the book, there was a purpose to all of this had been aligned by God. So, yeah.
So here we are on the other side of that. And I just want to
I
say,
know
man.
that's heavy, man. I'm sorry.
No.
That's super.
Man.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm over here. I'm tearing up a little bit over here. I'm not gonna lie, man.
That's all right.
Well,
felt that.
When it's something to that magnitude, it should be. I mean, it almost like in the moment right now, like leaving me speechless. And I think because in a sense, if someone's ever experienced something like that, that they know, like within this world, you can't put any context around it.
So small.
There's no words you could put in to describe it. So, you know, I certainly have, as you were sharing that, I think I go to a place and remember a moment with my daughter and Hadley, and they were very, you know, coming out of a divorce. And it was just a moment that was so, I mean, really, literally felt like an out-of-body experience that, one, I had never experienced up to that point, never experienced since then. And so that's why it's so unique and easy to be able to go back to that place to know, like, that could not be duplicated. It's not something I could find anywhere else here.
No, and you want it.
Right.
I'm telling you, like, I can't express enough that, and I'm just going to just say it like it is, you know, I cuss, I drink, I love Jesus. I have a job, I have kids. I'm a real person, okay? I'm not some Bible-beaten person, but I know the Bible, okay? But if you don't know Christ, you need to, because you don't want to miss out. It is amazing. Yeah. Like, it's the biggest, greatest thing ever, and you want to go. And I honestly, that it relieved me from the fear of death. It relieved me of the fear of myself. Wow. And gave me hope and gave me light, truthfully.
Yeah, think about that. I mean, that was such a powerful statement, you know, releasing you from yourself.
From myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And how many people, I mean, got to look in the mirror. Right?
Oh, yeah.
See the man in the mirror, the woman in the mirror, the all the things that nobody else is going to know, that only you understand and know about yourself to sit there and face, right? But to be freed of that,
right?
Yeah, super powerful. So let me ask you this, because I want to kind of like break that seriousness of it. If this was made into a movie, who do you think would play you?
Reese Witherspoon.
Yeah.
You know, and I love oh my gosh, her name just completely left me, but she played in Married with Children. What's her name? Jennifer, no, yeah.
The daughter?
Yeah, Christina Applegate.
Applegate. Yeah.
Well, I know she's going through something, but people say they're like, "Oh, you kind of resemble her." I'm like, I kind of do, huh? So
It's
yeah.
funny. Real quick side note to that, because when you mentioned that, because for Halloween, we host a big Halloween party. I'm a DJ, right? And the people that won the Halloween costume contest was Al and Peggy Bundy.
Oh, I love it.
And they were like spot on. Sorry, that's like
yes,
where my mind went when you said that. But yes, Christina Applegate,
I would have
Reese
been,
Witherspoon.
Yeah. That I guess that too. Yeah, maybe something like that.
Yeah. Man. So what makes you smile? We talk about some really heavy stuff, but also there's some incredible things that you're a part of.
Absolutely.
And things you do.
Absolutely.
Also know that you were a singer.
I am.
So do you get that from your mama?
I do, and actually, I think that comes from a long line of people. My grandfather on my mother's side could play any instrument.
Was it Justin Bieber of his day?
Yeah,
Bieber plays a ton of
played in a
instruments.
band back with some a jazz band in the 30s, and that was really like
You made it. You're like doing something.
Y'all didn't mix. I mean, truthfully, let's just be honest.
Okay.
And
okay,
he,
I see what
he
you're
was
saying.
jamming. He
Yeah.
was jamming. So, yes, my mother had a band.
He'd be like, okay,
many
so he's like the
years.
Eminem of his day.
Yeah,
You're like,
I love that. Yes.
That's funny.
But yeah, my mother was a singer, and she had a band for many years, and she was a rocker. But man, my mom could sing, and had some very good opportunities to do other things with that in Nashville, and really took a step back and decided to be a mom instead. And so, yes, I do get that a lot from her. My voice is different than hers, and so, but yeah, I
what do you like to sing? What if you compared yourself to like, hey, this is kind of my style, my vibe.
I would say I'm a lot of a Linda Ronstadt meets Aretha Franklin.
Okay.
So that would be my sound. Mix in a little bit of Stevie Nicks and some Bonnie Raitt or something, something like that.
People love when I play Fleetwood Mac, man.
Oh
They're
yeah, or
just,
some
like,
Heart.
all over
Yeah,
that.
I can do some Heart.
Yeah.
So yeah, love that.
Super cool. Super cool. Yeah. What organizations are you a part of? So I know you're a part of a number of organizations or serving in different places.
Yeah. Yes, I am a part of Rotary here in New Braunfels, the New Braunfels Rotary, not the downtown Rotary. They won't let me be part of it. Just take that part out. Anyway,
We'll leave it
just kidding. We love you guys. Yes, I'm part of Rotary. I help with the scholarship committee there.
Wait, so for people, because we got audience everywhere, if you don't know what Rotary is, what is it?
Oh, it's service above self. That's what it is. We are a group of local individuals, business leaders, people from the community, whatever. We get together and we raise funds to give back to the community every year. That's what we do.
Nice.
Yeah.
Love it.
Lots of service projects. We have a booth at Worstfest. So if you like a potato pancake, come see us next year.
What is a potato pancake?
Oh
I'm
my
sorry, I have no
God,
idea what that
dude.
is.
It's so awesome. So it's like hash brown mix. It is a German recipe. It's a very authentic German recipe. Kathy Murin is the creator of that, and she's quite amazing. She owns Clear Springs Catering here in town. Shout out. And so, it's that and some water and some eggs and some, onions and all the good stuff. Yeah.
Circle pancakes. Like,
Yeah,
circle
and you
potato.
fry it, dude. You fry it. It's
Really?
amazing.
I'm gonna have to go try it.
Awesome.
I'm gonna have to try it.
Yeah, so you do need to get one. But I'm part of Rotary. I'm also part of the Crisis Center of Comal County. I'm on the board for that. I do lots of other stuff. I've helped with the community education foundation, Comal Education Foundation, communities and schools. All kinds. I mean, I can't even think of them all.
I love that. Yeah. I feel like, that is such just a natural place for me too, and just like serving, giving back. I mean,
it's just it's in me. It's in me. Yeah,
I can certainly see that.
Can't deny it. It's just in me.
Yep. Yep. So what's next for Blythe? As we go into like this new year, right? And there's always this time of like new year, new me, right? New resolutions, plans. We're in the world of business, so there's always like business planning and hitting goals and doing these things. But
Sure.
personally, for you, you're an author now,
Yeah.
right? And so you've done that. You got the story out there.
Mhm.
What else?
Well, I will tell you, I know it's a little early. It is almost Christmas. We're in the week of Christmas. And I have decided and this word just keeps coming back to me. I usually choose a word for the year. And my word this year is renew. Renew, renew. And this is just keeps coming up. So I'm trying to figure out what that means for this year. Renew, reset. It's kind of offset of that as well. Renew my faith. Renew.
Did you have a word for
renew
this year?
Membership at the gym? I don't know. It's a lot of stuff.
Did you have a word for 23?
I did, and it was simplify, and I did none of that. None of that. Actually, I did a little bit. I got somebody to clean my house, and I am not that person. And you know what? I've loved every minute of it. So,
Nothing wrong with that.
It was worth the money, and it's worth my peace of mind. So I did simplify that process for myself.
Yeah.
Thank you, husband, for helping me with deciding that. But yeah, that's where I am right now. I'm going to renew some things. And I would love to write a children's book.
Okay.
I've always wanted
What's
to
the
write
inspiration behind that?
I love cartoons. I can do any voice. I swear to you. My kids know I can do so many voices. I can sing.
What's your favorite voice to
Well,
do?
hey, you cannot say that and then not give
do a
us
voice,
an
right?
impression. So
Okay.
we're going to put you on the spot right here.
Let me think. Okay, so I always did Tigger with my kids, and I was like, Tigger's like bouncing.
Oh, my God.
So I can do different voices, Minnie Mouse and Mickey Mouse and stuff like that. And, I've always loved cartoons. I loved storybooks when I was a kid. My mother read to us almost every night. And I think I envisioned myself living these lives through these characters. And honestly, it was a place where I could just go to imagine. I could leave the world for a little while. Sure. I could immerse myself in this fairy tale and pretend like the world was okay. And I want to give that somehow. I feel like it's in me. And I know it's kind of crazy, but I want to do it about a squirrel and some nuts. I do. And I've told people that, and they're like, okay. But yeah, I think I want to write a children's book. I think that's my next step.
Well, it is out in the universe now.
It is now.
And,
Yeah.
People are going to hold you accountable to that. They're going to be like, Blythe, so we heard on the Social Plug podcast, you talked about writing a children's book. Hey, I don't know if they're going to be asking about that, or you're going to have people asking you for impressions, impersonations, right, of all these characters. So now that I know that, and talk about interesting facts, right?
Yeah.
So, was not expecting that.
Yeah. There you go.
So I love that.
Learn something new.
Yep. So, man, that's a lot to look forward to.
Yeah,
right?
It is. Yeah.
A lot to look forward to. If you mind me, were you going to say something, JRock?
Yeah. What was your favorite cartoon growing up then? Like, was there a specific cartoon you liked, and also how did that cartoon make you feel for you to want to do this? Because I grew up with pro wrestling, and you had to have an imagination for that thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was like you, I get lost in that, and so I try to find ways to get other people to like it, which they don't. But it is what it is.
Yeah,
but,
sure.
What was it that you kind of grew up with?
I know this is kind of crazy, but I loved Jabberjaw.
Really?
I don't know if anybody remembers that from Hanna-Barbera. I loved that. I loved Heathcliff growing up.
Okay.
I was a big Woody Woodpecker fan, and Bugs Bunny. We watched a lot of that. That was some really funny slapstick stuff. Yeah. That was really good stuff. I mean, Bugs Bunny smoking a cigarette. Who does that? Awesome. So I think those were some of my faves. I just love cartoons in general. I do. And I've watched them all. My kids, I walk by and my kids would be watching a show, and there I am. I'm supposed to be doing something. I'm like,
you're right. I think what cartoons did for a lot of us growing up, it doesn't do the same for this new generation.
No.
But at the end of the day, it takes you somewhere as an adult that you just man, I missed that time,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I remember that Saturday morning having cereal and watching cartoons or watching wrestling, and those were the best
Yeah.
times. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
But you know,
good stuff.
we're in the Christmas season right now. The other day, I'm shopping, and my girlfriend Tina, she has a younger daughter. My daughter Hadley's 17, right? So I'm not back in these toy aisles
Yeah.
shopping like I've been before. But so I go back and I'm there amongst the children's toys, man, and it just like. I was like, man, I needed that for me. Like I was like, man, I
Yeah.
was so
This is
one,
cool.
One, I was amazed at like what children's toys are out there now,
Yeah.
what they have. But I was just like, man, it was just like super intriguing. You know, it just took you back.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, too, as being a father, like those are some of the things I miss, like
Yeah.
being able to do with my daughter and shop for her. And, you know, we would watch certain cartoons on TV
Right.
or whatnot and whatever. And it was just like, man, so far removed from that, right?
Yeah.
Right. Like life is just different
Yeah,
at
it
this
is.
stage with kids.
Well, and the
that'll-
Christmas, season kind of does that. I think to people in general, is that it takes you to a place where, a different time. You know, I posted on social media recently. I have this picture of me from 1990, and I got a Nintendo. That's all I wanted.
Oh,
I
yeah.
swear to you,
I
that's all
love
I
it.
wanted.
Yes.
And if you are a friend of mine on social media, you will see it. But my hair is really short. Like I look like a boy. I do.
Uh-huh.
And I tried to explain. I was a huge Wilson Phillips fan. Okay, so like I wanted my hair cut just like her. And I loved the song. So just hold on for one more day. It gave me hope. I mean, I was in
There
a
you
place
go.
in my life where it was a lot at 10 years old. So. Yeah, the Christmas spirit, it's something to take. It takes you back for sure, and it took me back this week. So
I don't understand how people say like they can do Christmas year round. I'm like, no, it has to stay in
No.
this one time of the year.
yes,
So that way I know like I can look forward to that or feel that and things like that.
Yeah,
So I got one more question before we move on too. You have kids, obviously, like you said. How do you coach them or preach to them about what had happened with your family in the past, and then how you're also telling the story now? Like, how are you helping them get through it, or do they not really question about it too much?
That's a great question because my oldest daughter was in the midst of that, and she actually, went through a lot of things with that as well that I truthfully was unaware of at the time, but it took an emotional toll on her, where I think she felt like I was so volatile and fragile that she was taking care of me in some sense. And so, we've worked through some of those things. So she knew the full story. My youngest daughter, I did tell her, and I have told her in the past. And so I think they do understand. And we were just talking earlier about legacy, right? We were talking about you won't fully know the impact of your story or your life until your children are grown or they really understand, or I'm not here anymore and they're telling their children about their, great grandmother or their grandmother or whatever, and that, hey, you think that's hard, why don't you've got something inside of you, and it's there because she had it or whatever, and I think that they're starting to get that a little bit, but it's been hard. It's been hard, and I just tried to be an example to them that. And everybody asked me about success. What is your definition of success? Success to me is not a college degree. Success to me is not, accolades or this title or that title. My success, my crown, is my kids. And that is the most important thing to me. And they may not think so, but they are. And I want them to know that as a woman, truthfully, stuff's going to happen in your life, but you can do this. And with God's help, if you lean on Him, He will help you. He will be there to see it through, no matter what it is. So I think that's where I am with my kids. Yeah.
Love that. We talk a lot. I mean, we have a lot of leaders, entrepreneurs, business people, and that topic of conversation comes up quite a bit. What is the definition of success, or how do they view that? What do they see that like? And I really do feel like there is a shift in the view of what success is like. Just as we start to live in generations where the transparency of like, hey, what really matters and what people are looking for. So I'm glad you brought that up and mentioned that. So, as we wrap up, I want to ask, we were talking about some favorites. So I want to ask some quick favorites from you. So favorite song?
Oh gosh, that is really tough. Golly, I don't know. I have so many favorite songs. Right now, my favorite song is Heart Like a Truck. I'm just going to go with that right this second.
Okay.
Heart Like a Truck is my favorite song right this second. But ultimately, man, I'm going to have to say, is it a Dale Shannon song? As I Walk Along, I Wonder.
I'm not familiar with it.
So it's a really old song. I love that song a whole lot. It goes, as I walk along, I wonder why,
Can you sing it?
why. I
Come on,
probably
you
could,
can
but
sing it. Come on.
It goes, I'm a walking in the rain, to the bone I feel the pain, wishing you were here by me, to end this misery, and I wonder. And it goes like that. Of course, you sing it
There
really,
you go.
really loud, but that's how it goes. I love that song. Yeah.
Boom. Mic drop.
Mic drop.
Dude, that was so good. Gosh, no warm up, no nothing.
Right? She's going right into it. I love it.
Favorite book?
The Bible. The Bible's my favorite book.
So lead into that. So favorite scripture?
Favorite scripture is 2 Timothy, and it is, for God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of love and of peace and of a sound mind.
Yeah, love it.
It's a promise that I definitely have lived by.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite daughter?
Okay, so both of my girls, I don't have a favorite daughter, but I have them for favorite reasons.
For favorite
Reasons.
Okay.
There you go. I love it.
My oldest daughter kind of gets my jam. She's real free spirited, very with it. She's just has a lot of common sense. I'll say that. Not that Kelly doesn't have some common sense. She does. I love you. But Kelly's my shopper. She gets my shop inside. So yeah, we are the shoppers together.
Yeah, that is my kryptonite as well with me and my daughter.
Yeah.
And shopping. And funny you say that. So, all right. So saved in my phone, this way my daughter saved it, is it's not Hadley, it's my favorite daughter. And I'm like, yeah, that's her self-imposed title in my phone for her phone number is my favorite daughter.
That's hilarious.
All right, so we're gonna wrap things up. So Shine Your Light book. Where can people find the book? If you can give us a plug on that.
Absolutely. Well, I have some books, so if you would like to reach out to me, I would love to get you one. But you can also order it on Amazon, and it's just Shine Your Light. It's a kind of a blue book with real pretty gold, yellow, font. So yeah, go get it. Amazon. Shine Your Light.
This has been amazing, and
Thank you.
man,
Same.
I've heard stories, but this is like that's life. You sharing
LVIN.
raw. Yeah,
That's right.
yeah, absolutely. So, man, on behalf of JRock out here, a producer in the studio at Greenleaf Studios, Greenleaf Health and Wellness, a big shout out. Thank you once again to our guest today, to Blythe Cox. Thank you for being
so
here,
much for having me.
sharing,
It's been a
being
pleasure.
vulnerable, opening up. And I'm sure this is going to have a big impact itself. So I am Jerry Sauceda. Big thank you to our sponsors for today, Dat DJ as well. We are officially unplugged. Don't forget, we are Social Plug Media, Social Plug Podcast, where we bring ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And we'll see you on the next episode.